Hunt to survive, Neanderthal hunters vanished 40,000 years ago, but their DNA is in us.
Push forward! Attack now! Do not let them win! Hit it hard! Attack the beast now! We are victorious!
Today we might think the Neanderthals are gone, but the truth is something else. For thousands of years, two human species shared the continents of Europe and Asia. Then, around 40,000 years ago, one of them disappeared. The Neanderthals vanished while the Homo sapiens survived. But how did this happen? Did we kill them? And was that the end of their legacy? We are about to find out. They were powerful, intelligent, and relentless, known as the masters of fire and ice. In the brutal, frozen wilderness of the Ice Age, survival meant one thing: the hunt. They had one incredible talent: to make weapons, crafting sharp spears, scrapers, and even glue from tree resin over 40,000 years ago. They stalked mammoths, woolly rhinos, cave bears, even us, Homo sapiens. In this video, we step into their world, how they lived, hunted, feared, and adapted. They vanished 40,000 years ago, but traces of their bloodline remain, hidden in us. Who were they? Why did they disappear? And could we have survived in their world? You're about to find out. This is Extinct Prehistoric Predators, where the past breathes again. If you love ancient worlds, lost species, and humanity's forgotten chapters, let's travel back 40,000 years to the Ice Age. The shape of a survivor. How they looked. The story of the Neanderthals begins not in Europe, but in Africa, around 600,000 years ago. A single ancestral species, Homo heidelbergensis, split into two lineages. One journeyed northward into the freezing plains of Europe and Western Asia. Over generations, isolation and climate sculpted them into something new, broader, stronger, and harder than the stone they shaped. They became Neanderthals. Before we follow the hunt, look at the hunter. A Neanderthal male stands barely 5 feet 6, but weighs more than many modern athletes. He is compact, with a barrel chest and a pelvis built like a load-bearing arch. His forearms are thick, his ribcage broad, his leg bones curve from the stress of a lifetime on raw ground. Shorter than us, yet heavier and powerful than us. This is not clumsiness, it is engineering. In the Ice Age, survival had a shape, and this was it. His face is arresting. Heavy brows shelter eyes set deeper than ours. Not dullness, but shielding. A larger nose warms and humidifies sub-zero air. The skull's rear is rounded, yet his brain volume rivals, and sometimes exceeds ours. Nothing about him is accidental. Every line was carved by climate, calories, and consequence. Yes, we're not talking about some fictional movie beast, but our ancestors have shared a land with them for real. But how did they survive? The answer is just here. The toolmaker's secret, their hidden talent. The hunt begins long before the first spear is raised. It starts with stone, flint, chert, quartzite, selected by color, texture, and fracture. The concept of spears was nowhere near. A Neanderthal sits with a raw nodule in his palm and sees the future sealed within it. He prepares a tortoise-shaped core with patient skill, then strikes a single, perfect blow. A thin, lethal flake peels away. This is the Levallois technique, the Ice Age equivalent of mass production. With it, Neanderthals made knives, points, and scrapers that are sharp, efficient, and replaceable in the field. They bind the points to wooden shafts using sinew and plant fibers. To waterproof and strengthen the joint, they melt birch tar, a black adhesive created by heating bark in low oxygen. It's not an accident. It's what we call chemistry today. Fire becomes a laboratory, the cave, a workshop. That's how they survived at that time. And if you wonder how they used to hunt, this might leave you speechless.
Wait. 3 count. Ready.
Once the weapons were ready, they had a proper strategy to make the hunt. It is not your hunting picnic day. It was a real-life movie scene, a moment where you feel your soul leaving the body. From the shadows of a pine forest, a line of hunters moves. Silent, coordinated. Some carry heavy thrusting spears for close quarters. Others wield lighter, balanced shafts with stone points for short throws. No bows, no arrows. Not yet. Their advantage isn't distance, it's timing. A subadult bison strays to the edge of the herd. Two hunters reveal themselves, shouting, clacking stone on stone, decoys drawing the animal's eyes. The true strike comes from the side, where a third hunter explodes from a gully, driving a spear into the chest. The bison staggers. Another spear flashes in, then another. The herd scatters. The kill is messy, risky, and intimate, but it is also planned. Or more precisely, well planned. They were so daring for thrusting spears at close range, rather than throwing them from a distance. This required a high degree of planning and courage. This intensive, cooperative, and highly skilled activity would take then days of preparation and processing for a single large animal. Example. The butchery of a single elephant could require 25 people and take several days to process. Their high metabolism meant that Neanderthals faced a constant need for a large quantity of food to simply survive, let alone thrive. A single successful hunt for a large animal could serve a small group of Neanderthals for a substantial period, potentially weeks or even a month. Imagine how huge the animals were and how tough a job it was to take down a single animal.
Hoorah! Hoorah! The hunters return. Good hunt. Meat is warm.
Yes. Share the roots with the children.
There's evidence of their hunt. They didn't only eat animals, but evidence has revealed other things they loved as their food. Across Europe, kill sites whisper of dangerous brilliance. At La Côte de Saint-Brelay, Neanderthal used ravines and cliff edges to funnel mammoths, turning the landscape into a weapon. At other sites, layers of butchered reindeer and horse bones stack like ledgers of survival. Cut marks show systematic disassembly, long bones split for marrow, tongues removed for fat, hides stripped with specialized scrapers. In Ukraine and the Dniester Valley, rings of mammoth bones form the frames of wind-tight shelters, covered with hides. Inside, hearths, tool piles, burnt bones. Beyond the walls, a frozen plain and wolves pacing the perimeter. We imagine Neanderthals as glacier-bound carnivores, but on Europe's coasts, a different menu appears. Shellfish, fish, seals, seabirds. At the tidal edge, families gather limpets and mussels. Children learn to pry barnacles with flakes of stone. On stormy nights, they scavenge beached marine mammals. In estuaries, they set ambushes for salmon runs. Protein is protein. Fat is life. They knew every source. Medicine by the firelight. They were more advanced than the technology today. Around the fire, wisdom traveled not through books, but through voices. The air inside a Neanderthal shelter smelled of smoke, hide, and healing. A grandmother sat near the flames, chewing strips of bitter willow bark before pressing them into the hands of a feverish child. Unknowingly, she was giving him salicin, the same natural compound that would one day inspire aspirin. On another night, someone crushed yarrow leaves between rough palms and pressed the green paste to a bleeding cut. The plant was an astringent and coagulant, perfect for stopping wounds in a world without doctors. Centuries later, when scientists examined the hardened plaque on Neanderthal teeth, they found traces of these very plants, along with specks of charcoal and grains of cooked starch. This wasn't luck. It was evidence of observation, of memory, of trial and error passed down through stories. These people didn't stumble blindly through their world. They studied it, tested it, and taught it, turning pain into knowledge and survival into science. What did they do with their dead? Deep in Shanidar Cave in Iraq lies the skeleton of a man known to us as Shanidar I. This clearly indicates that Neanderthals buried their dead. His right arm was withered, his eye socket crushed, his leg broken so badly he could never have hunted again, and yet he lived for years after those wounds. Someone must have fed him, protected him, kept him warm against the winter. It wasn't pity that kept him alive. It was strategy. Compassion was their technology. Several other evidence also point to Neanderthals as the first human species known to practice burial behavior and to intentionally bury their dead. They did so using shallow graves furnished with stone tools and animal bones. To care for the weak meant to preserve wisdom. Every injured hunter who survived carried maps of the landscape in his mind, the memory of where herds crossed, where storms brewed, where shelter could be found. Keeping such a person alive wasn't charity, it was infrastructure. Kindness in their world wasn't softness. It was efficiency, the quiet advantage that kept a small species strong. Yes, kindness existed even 40,000 years ago. A day in winter, Neanderthals' lifestyle. They had their homes in the dark. Their homes? Caves. At dawn, frost veiled the valley. The clan stirred as the sky turned pale gray. 3 hunters set out to track reindeer. 2 adults and a youth went searching for straight branches and sticky resin. The old woman and a child gathered moss for tinder and scraped the snow for edible roots. The world was cold, but not empty. It pulsed with signs if you knew where to look. By midday, the wind shifted north. A hawk's shadow swept across the slope. And in that fleeting silence when birds stopped singing, the hunters read the omen. Fresh hoofprints, movement. They fanned out, silent as ghosts. Hours later, as the light faded, the hunters returned, dragging a young reindeer through the snow, steam rising from its wounds like breath. By nightfall, the cave glowed with the rhythm of life. Fire fat hissed and popped. Children chewed dried tendon like gum, while elders told stories, tales of rockfalls, of cave bears that refused to yield, the flickering light through moving.
And then the bear attacked.
Constellations across the stone ceiling. For a few hours, the Ice Age world outside disappeared. In that circle of warmth and laughter, humanity glowed against the dark.
Gently now, breathe it out. Like this.
Like this? I think I hear them.
But could Neanderthals truly speak? For generations, scientists said no, but the evidence keeps whispering otherwise. Inside their throats, the structure of the hyoid bone, found preserved in a cave in Kabara, mirrors our own. Their ears and vocal tracts could produce a wide range of sounds, and their genes carried the same mutations that allow us to form complex speech. So imagine it, a language not written, but felt. Words formed through breath, rhythm, and tone. A father teaching his son the word for reindeer. A mother calling her child back from the fire's edge. Voices rising in warning, in laughter, in song. Their language might have lacked poetry as we know it, but it had purpose. To plan a hunt, to share a memory, to grieve the dead. And in that purpose, it carried the same heartbeat as ours. Symbols in stone and shell. They had talents. From a limestone ledge, a Neanderthal hand smeared red ochre onto skin, iron-rich dust glowing like blood in firelight. Shells drilled and stained black hung from a cord of sinew. Polished eagle talons clattered softly as a woman moved through the dim. These weren't decorations. They were statements. To wear color was to belong. To carve symmetry into bone was to declare, I am more than hunger. I remember art for them wasn't a luxury. It was identity. Paint was membership. A pendant was promise. And every etched line in stone was a whisper from the mind. Proof that even in a brutal world, beauty mattered. In a time when survival was everything, they still made time for meaning. The Neanderthal mind, at work, how they made survival possible in dark and snow. Behind every successful hunt was a quiet intelligence, a system. One hunter scouted raw materials, hauling chunks of flint from miles away, a mobile reserve ready for shaping. When a weapon broke in the field, another replaced the point with a freshly napped flake from a pouch of spares. No downtime, no hesitation. Specialists emerged naturally. One with the keenest eye for stone handled the final shaping. Another with steady hands scraped hides to perfection without slicing through the skin. Even their control of fire was deliberate. They carried embers tucked into fungus tinder, preserving flame like treasure. If the main fire died, a child could blow one of those glowing cores back to life. It wasn't luck. It was discipline. Operational excellence carved into instinct. In every movement of their daily lives, you can see the early framework of human innovation. Planning, delegation, foresight, and care. The meeting of two human worlds. The moment Homo sapiens came in, then came the change, a new species stepping out of the sunlit south. Into this frozen theater walked Homo sapiens, taller, slimmer, their clothing sewn with bone needles, their stories painted in ochre across cave walls. They brought long-distance trade, delicate blades, and something harder to measure. Vast networks of kin stretching far beyond the horizon. One autumn night, smoke from two distant camps rose under the same stars. At dawn, by the bend of a river, a Neanderthal hunter met a modern human woman. Neither spoke the other's tongue, but gestures bridged the silence. He offered a piece of amber, she a thin blade that gleamed in morning light. There are no written records of that encounter, only genetics, quietly keeping the memory. We traded more than objects that day. We traded life. Microbes, ideas, stories, and DNA. Some of their genes still help us fight disease. Others shape how our skin feels sunlight or how our nerves register pain. Evolution is no straight line. It's a mosaic, and in that grand design, the Neanderthal tiles still shine among ours. Why the balance tipped. How Neanderthal failed life. For a time, the two species shared the same horizon, but survival is never guaranteed. The Neanderthals were strong, clever, and deeply adapted, yet over thousands of years their numbers thinned. Their groups were small and scattered. A bad winter, a disease, or a lost hunting ground could erase an entire band. The Ice Age didn't freeze evenly. It pulsed and shifted, forests turning to barren steppe and back again. Meanwhile, the newcomers, us, formed larger networks. More allies meant more ideas, more tools, more ways to survive. When storms came, we shared food across distances the Neanderthals couldn't. When new illnesses struck, our broader gene pool offered resilience. Innovation accelerated, layer upon layer. Longer blades, stronger adhesives, early projectiles. There was no war, no apocalyptic moment. Just a slow tipping of scales, climate, disease, and demographics weaving together into fate. Extinction, when it came, wasn't a scream. It was a long, silent sigh beneath the falling snow. The last refuges, as the ice advanced and retreated like a slow, breathing thing. Neanderthal families were pressed into the corners of the continent, sea-battered caves in Iberia, wind-cut valleys in the Balkans, the limestone fortress of Gibraltar. In one coastal cavern, a child's bare footprints cross damp sand and end at a pool of reflected light. In another, soot stains bloom across a low ceiling, each black petal the memory of a hearth. These places are not haunted. They are signed. Every char mark, every flake of flint, every smudge of ochre says, "We were here. We tried." Long goodbye. Picture a winter near the end. Snow pox the cave mouth. The wind has lost all patience. A hunting party returns empty-handed, their shoulders bent under more than fatigue. The elder watches smoke wander toward the entrance and thinks of summers when reindeer stacked the valley and mammoths shivered in heat. The valley is quiet now, and quiet is not peace. It is absence. By the fire, a girl with copper hair warms her hands. In her cells, a few small variants of ancestral code will one day steady distant descendants against sickness and sun. She knows nothing of genetics. She knows marrow's sweetness on a cold night, the weight of a hide on tired shoulders, the sound of ocean wind at sleep. Her world is ending. Her lineage is not. Vanishing point. Around 40,000 years ago, the lights went out on the map, not in a blaze of battles, but one by one, like stars fading before dawn. There's no last stand, no final champion to cheer. There's only the arithmetic of small populations, a bridge of marriages broken by storm or illness, a winter that lasts a little too long, a cough that moves through a shelter and leaves too few standing, a cliff that gives way at the wrong step. Extinction is not always the drumbeat of catastrophe. Sometimes it is the whisper of time, wearing people down, grain by grain. How did they still exist in us? Stand in a winter wind and you can feel it. The Neanderthal within. Your eyes narrow, your skin prickles. You turn your face just so to slice the gust. Thousands of little reflexes, instinct, chemistry, posture were carved by lives lived at the edge of cold. Modern medicine now traces some of our immune sparks, our hair and skin textures, even fragments of our sleep patterns, back to those who fought the Ice Age with fire and grit. We are not pure anything. We are heirs to many homes, many winters, many hands on the same stone. They were never the slapstick figures of old cartoons. They planned hunts weeks ahead, cooked chemistry from bark and glue, chose woods for the way a spear flexes and returns, positioned shelters to pull smoke where the wind would take it, and kept the injured alive long after the wound. They buried their dead, wore color, and scored meaning into bone. They were not a failed experiment. They were a brilliant solution to a fierce world, a solution that met a world changing too fast and a neighbor spreading too wide. Now here arises a question. Could we survive in their world? Strip away supermarkets, thermostats, painkillers, and maps. Keep your wits, lose your guarantees. Could we survive their winter? Shelter would humble us first. Wind is an enemy you cannot see, and they knew how to bargain with it, choosing ledges that trap warm air, lashing double-hide walls, banking embers in ash so morning always had a spark. Clothing would come next. Hair-on hides aligned to shed meltwater, padding tucked at joints where frostbite hunts, spare foot wrappings rotated before sweat turns to ice. Food would not be a pantry, but a memory palace. Reindeer corridors that cross the same saddle every year. Muscles safe only after the hard freeze. Roots that sweeten beneath snow. Fat rendered in a skin bag with stones glowing red. The land itself was their map. They read wind scars etched on drifts. The bias of lichen on bark. The way corvids gossip over carrion. The fine cut of hoof in sastrugi. Medicine was smell and touch and risk, keeping the fever warm but not wild, binding wounds to avoid a rebleed, changing dressings by the nose as much as the eye. Could we learn it? Some of us, given time and teachers and luck. But to be born to it, to carry winter in bone and breath, is different. They did not merely endure that world, they belonged to it. Myths we thought were true, but can finally retire now. They were dumb. Number, predictive geometry in stone, tar distilled in low oxygen, fire managed like a treasury, care extended like a strategy. None of that belongs to fools. They only ate meat. They ate widely, reindeer and horse, yes, but also fish and shellfish, nuts and seeds, bitter greens and fungi, starches cooked soft over coals. They never made art. Look again, pigments, engravings, talons polished to a shine, shells drilled and darkened, space arranged with the eye of a mind that wants order and symbol. Not all art is a bison on a wall. Sometimes it is a line cut into bone where meaning lives between the lines. We wiped them out in a war. There is no continent-wide graveyard of our making. What we see is climate stress, demography, disease, and slow competition braided over millennia. They are gone. Listen closer. Their voices are low, but they are fluent, speaking in our cells. The Neanderthal code in us. When scientists unspooled the genome and held it up to the light, they found footnotes written in an Ice Age hand. Some Neanderthal variants tune the centuries of our immune system. Others shape keratin, the scaffolding of hair and skin. A few nudge the levers that decide whether calories become heat, muscle, or storage. Not every gift is a blessing. Some variants tip us toward inflammation or change how we respond to certain viruses. Evolution does not write fairy tales. It writes trade-offs. Think of humanity as an orchestra. Neanderthal genes are not the lone trumpet blaring from the balcony. They are the lower strings, steady, subtle. Shifting the entire sound by a tone you feel more than hear. That undertone carried us across the steppes, through the furrows of Bronze Age fields, and into the lit glass of modern nights. We are louder now, but they are still in the music. last hunt. Snow falls in clean, slanting sheets. On a ridge above a frozen river, a small band waits, blue smoke from birch bark staining the pale air. Below, steppe bison nose through powder for last year's grass. A young hunter looks down his spear, breath tucked in tight against his teeth. The elder lifts his hand and the group breaks into a geometry only they understand, a silent equation of angles and timing. A shout startles the herd. The plain erupts. The young hunter runs, the world narrowed to the target and the thump in his ribs. He plants, drives, feels the shiver of impact in bone. The bison folds, the herd thunders past. The cold swallows the sound. He stumbles, laughs once, a raw scrap of joy torn from the white. Tonight they will eat. Tomorrow he will sing a simple song. He will never know that he stands at the dusk of a kind. The fire ring will collapse into gray. Drips will write slow lines down the cave's walls. A tooth, a flake, a small print pressed into ancient mud. These will remain, and in us the rhythm of their blood will keep time, long after the last ember fades. CTA. They vanished 40,000 years ago, but the hunt that defined them didn't die. It changed shape. Today we hunt meanings, cures, better tools, brighter stars, and in each pursuit a Neanderthal steadies our grip, in the curve of our ribs, in the pragmatism of our hands, in the stubborn winter-born courage to stand and try again. When the cold touches your face, don't turn away. Take the lesson they left. Build your fire. Keep your people close. Share the marrow. Honor the old. Leave a mark worth finding. If this journey lit a spark, stay with us. Next, we walk back to the first fire keepers, the makers whose sparks became campfires, whose campfires became hearths, whose hearths became cities. Subscribe to Extinct Prehistoric Predators. The past isn't behind us, it's inside us, and the next chapter is already burning.